God forbid you just stop the car until the track is definitely clear. I mean,
When have you seen a hurricane in Texas? Well, it happened that day.
What's all-star about having every driver? I mean, it's ridiculous.
Good guy, ass. Good guy, can't drive a race car. Sorry.
You're listening to the Foreign Fuel Podcast.
hello everyone, welcome back to the Foreign Fuel Podcast. I'm your host, Dom Capilupo, joined by Steve Ray and Wesley Riddle. We're here for a Food City 500 at Bristol preview. No Sam this week, a little busy. And actually, when you're listening to this podcast, I will be in Tennessee, and Anthony and I will hopefully be going to the Food City 500 as long as weather permits there. Going to Nashville next week and Pigeon Forge and Gatlinburg, going to the Smoky Mountains just for a week-long vacation, taking a little break. So if any news happens, Steve and Wes and Sam, they'll have you covered during that week. But for our preview pod, we'll give you the basics, the rundown. Steve, I mean, when the listeners are hearing this, it'll only be a couple days till the race. So I think we'll be pretty excited come that time.
Absolutely. Anytime that NASCAR goes to Bristol, anytime that you have a track where its nickname is the Last Great Colosseum and Dale Earnhardt Jr. kind of coins the phrase, it's Bristol, baby, that it's just a legendary, iconic track. When you think of NASCAR, of course, you think of, you know, Daytona, Talladega, Darlington, but Bristol is in those conversations as well. I know this is going to be the day race, but still the same facility that hosts, in my mind, one of the crown jewels, the Bristol night race. So um, even though that the spring race has been kind of moved around on the schedule quite a bit over the last couple of years, they put dirt on it for 3 years. And there's been kind of talks like, does Bristol deserve a second date? Do they take this spring date and move it somewhere else? Nonetheless, that's where they'll be at this weekend. And Bristol is just a legendary, iconic track to go to, puts on badass racing all the time, and should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And Bristol was actually the first time Wes and I met in person back in 2020 when they had the All-Star race there. It was the first race that they had fans at. About 25,000 people were able to go. And Wes and I got to meet each other for the first time. And we had a good time. Not the best race because, I mean, an All-Star race there just isn't very good. I think you need all 36 to 40 cars on the track for Bristol to really be Bristol. But yeah, that race was kind of gimmicky and kind of boring all at once, if I'd say so myself.
Saw a good winner out of it, though.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about that, but I'm sure all the fans there were happy. But yeah, I mean, Wes, another race at Bristol. Um, I'll actually, Steve brought it up. I'll let you start. Do you think Bristol, and I'll say even Martinsville, do you think it's time to take away one of their races on the schedule?
Not at all. I feel like part of that's a little bit of bias just because those are considered home tracks for me. They're two of the closest racetracks, but I also feel like they're such an integral part of NASCAR history, but also what I feel like our motorsport represents and kind of what NASCAR and grassroots racing. It's one of the best things and displays of racing, just with what these cars are meant to be. And I feel like, you know, could you get rid of one? Would it be the end of the world? No. I mean, you could have prestige in a Bristol night race and then have in a Martinsville, you know, second to last race, the penultimate race, or you could get rid of the spring race. But I feel like there's just too much character in those tracks to really take away, a whole race from. And it would be a shame to lose them just because they are just true classic racetracks, and it'd be hard to get rid of one of those unless we went to another one, right? If we went to another classic racetrack, or obviously, I feel like northeastern market is definitely due for like a good short track, maybe Stafford or what's the New York track up north of Syracuse?
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
One that starts with an O.
Ox,
Oswego? I
yeah,
don't know how
something
you
like
say it.
that.
Something like that. Just go to a short track like that. I mean, if you put one of those on the schedule and a replacement, right, do it. But I don't want to see, honestly, I don't, obviously not another road course. I don't want to see, I feel like a mile and a halfs are good. I feel like it's good balance. It's too many super speedways. We've got a lot of super speedways. I feel like honestly, if we wanted to get rid of something, get rid of one super speedway race. I know it's a shame for those tracks because they're monumental, but they two Daytonas, two Atlantas, two Talladegas, like that's a lot of torn up race cars. And, a little fender damage at a short track for a bump and a run, I feel like would be a better substitute than having, a 30 car wreck and everybody upset that they, lost hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, and I'll add on to that real quick. Just since Martinsville was brought up with it, you guys have brought up in the past before of outside of the NASCAR race weekends, there's really nothing to the community of Martinsville itself besides what, Wes, like a manufacturing plant of something, so there's more than just the product that goes on the track there. Um, when NASCAR was at Martinsville, they paired it up with a modified race, gets eyeballs on the modified series, which deserves a lot of attention. But not only that, looking at it from a community and economic standpoint, like having two races there really helps the community of Martinsville. There's really not much to Bristol outside of the racetrack and the drag strip there. So having two races at Bristol helps boost that local economy, helps keep that town going. So it's more than just the product that goes on the track. It's more than just the NASCAR Cup Series. And there's so many moving pieces and parts in there that it's not easy. I will say, um, I'm curious later this summer when they go to North Wilkesboro to see how the racing is there because that could be a facility that I could see if the racing is good there over the course. You put a full field on there for 450 laps. If that puts on good racing, that might be a track to look at giving a second date to. Um, if things kind of work out in the favor for Nashville Fairgrounds, I could see that being a possibility. I think that's an SMI track as well. So that could be an option as long as the neighborhood doesn't shut that track down. So there's a couple options, but I think it's something that's not going to happen next year, maybe even the year after. We're looking a couple of years down the line. You look at some tracks like I'll give Michigan as an example. They used to have two races, and the attendance was just kind of average. It's a huge facility, so it looks like that there's a lot of people, but once they took a date away, now Michigan is a track that sells out. Pocono was kind of the same way. They had for many, many years, they had that race spread apart by what, 4 or 5 weeks.
Hmm.
Seemed like that they went in June and July. And now that they've taken a date away from Pocono, I'll ask you, Dom, since you go every year, how's the attendance been at Pocono now that there's just one race?
I mean, it's packed at Pocono. You had the last 3 years, I think it's been announced as sellouts, and it's been a great time. And really, what Pocono deserves, I mean, they deserve a full crowd because I feel like they're one of the best tracks in terms of like the fan experience. They know how to like give you access more than I feel like a lot of other tracks do. And I think Wes, I mean, you could speak for that just from your experience last year.
Oh yeah, it was a great crowd. And I feel like out of all the tracks I've been to, the one I feel like honestly I'd most be interested in returning to would, I mean, Vegas is up there, but honestly Pocono, just because of how amazing the area was. The track was incredible. It's just such a good vibe, I feel like at the racetrack. And yeah, just the amenities are nice. The um everything outside the racetrack, the things that happen around the area. There's definitely a lot of good access in a part that you wouldn't really think would have that access. And I feel like that's a part where like Bristol a track for Bristol example, take that, and Martinsville, they don't really do a good job of integrating the city and the culture of those cities, like Bristol downtown, which is part Tennessee, part Virginia, and then Martinsville, the actual downtown. Like if you go downtown during any race weekend, there's nothing NASCAR really happening. But you go to Pocono and it seems like it's, you can find parts of it where it stems out more from the racetrack and some of the surrounding areas. And same with Vegas on the Strip. Like, and the Strip is 30 minutes away, or, you can find, I feel like, more integrated stuff to do at some of these, oddball racetracks versus the short tracks like Martinsville. I don't know how it is for Darlington, but Bristol too. I wish they could have integrated a little more. And like you said, Steve, earlier, these tracks are, you know, kind of making a huge profit for these cities. Like they're huge and important. Martinsville and the surrounding area, it was known for textile mills back in the 60s and the 70s, and for moonshiners and for fabric workers, just all anything like that. And it survives because of the racetracks. And yeah, I think it just needs to be an integral part in, um, you know, whenever NASCAR steps into these towns, just making sure they embrace the city and the culture that they're there with.
Absolutely. So I really, when it comes down to Martinsville, I mean, they do a great job at least of, tending to the fans. Like Clay Campbell and his group, they do a great job. One of the nicest leaders, I'd say, of a track or just any part in NASCAR. Bristol, I think the Bristol date, like the spring race is, listen, they've already tried to play around with it with the dirt. I mean, if any one of those two tracks is going to lose a date, it's going to be the Bristol Spring Race. But I don't want to see that race then turned into another Southeast race. We need to expand our horizons even more. Like Steve, there's no reason that you should have the closest track to be a 6 to 8 hour drive away, and that being Iowa.
Yeah, exactly. 5 hours from Iowa, 8 hours from Chicago. Um, yeah, and there's, you know, another 8 hours to Kansas. Outside of that, there's nothing in Nebraska, the Dakotas. I mean, there's small short tracks, but nothing that can host like the NASCAR Cup Series. Um, I, if it was up to me, if Bristol were to lose, the thing is, I'm not saying for NASCAR to get trigger happy here. If you're going to take a date away from Bristol, presumably the spring race, you got to have something lined up in place. Don't go on a whim, be like, oh, we're just going to take this date away from Bristol and we're going to try it here. However, I do think I agree with you in that it if it were up to me, it should not be a Southeast race. I think the points race needs to be back at Dover, and then you could experiment with the All-Star race, moving that around. It's already not for points. So if you did want to try something like um, the Nashville Fairgrounds, I know the Greenville Pickens has been kind of in the news recently about trying to save that track. Um, that might, I could see that being a great opportunity, trying to step in if NASCAR wanted to do something like that. But I agree, no, no more super speedways. Mile and a halves are good. Leave them as as it is. We've already killed the Roval and going back to the oval, thank goodness. And so I think if you're going to do it, I would look either, kind of a Midwest venue or something up in the Northeast. There's a ton of tracks in the Northeast that deserve a lot more recognition than they get on a national level. Um, but for sure, a points race needs to be back at Dover. I I I don't want to go into another 10-minute rant of why the All-Star race should not be at Dover.
Say, well,
Um,
we'll have a whole Dover preview and
yeah,
do all
yeah,
that.
yeah, we'll do that. So, but either way, until there's a plan like that in place, the Bristol Spring Race should stay because Bristol is still an awesome racetrack. And even though we saw it last year where Kyle Larson just opened a can of whoop ass on the field and led over 400 laps. Um, listen, that's just old school racing. That's what people, you know, a good chunk of the fans have been asking for. And sometimes you just get races like that at these short tracks, and that's okay. That's okay. You're not going to get the side by side photo finishes every week. Sometimes you are going to get these what's classified as boring races, but that's just part of racing. Everywhere from local grassroots racing all the way up to the elite NASCAR Cup Series.
I would say if you could get rid of a race, yeah, do the Bristol Spring Race. Keep the night race, of course. If you could get rid of a Martinsville race, if you're going to keep one Martinsville race in the playoffs, keep that. Get rid of the spring race. And if you can get rid of a Darlington race, keep the Southern 500. That's the race. That's the legacy race. We don't need two. I know it's an amazing racetrack. It's the best racetrack arguably we go to, but we probably don't need to. And then you could find three racetracks that kind of fill those markets or explore new markets, like go to Rockingham, right? Rockingham's close to Darlington. You're going to probably get the same crowd you would get if you had two Darlington races, but you're going to a close city. And then go to a Stafford, try to find a track in the Midwest you could explore. Go to Kern Raceway or Irwindale out in California. See if we can make something work for a short track and still get that, Western market that's not Los Angeles, right? Just a different kind of demographic that can be entertaining and still reach race fans. Even though it's small, it may take a hit, but it still could be something new just to try and experiment. And I feel like Ben Kennedy, right? I heard that was it Darlington? He was in disguise, kind of in, undercover, kind of seeing what the crowd and the atmosphere is like. If he's doing that, I mean, he's smart. He knows what he's doing. He's open to explore new options. I feel like he could be a guy to kind of take that step and push NASCAR towards making some of these decisions. But, they hit and miss, but it's better to try it than not. So let's keep trying.
Or let's build a racetrack. I mean, when was the last time they specifically built a racetrack for NASCAR to go to?
If they're going to build a racetrack, we need one in Denver. Denver,
Hmm.
Colorado, there needs to be a track in the middle of the country. That is the one place that there is no activity. Same with Oklahoma. I don't think there's one paved oval in Oklahoma. Like if we can do something out there, I know dirt track racing out there is huge, but we need pavement in the Midwest and in the central region of our country. Let's build a racetrack out there. No, if we build one here on the East Coast,
It's
what
ridiculous.
just the dumbest decision you'll ever make. We
Hmm.
don't need another racetrack out here. Build it in a place we can get new markets. Start out there. Start go to California, build a short track. We don't have one now. Just keep the similar idea to you know, what Auto Club was going to possibly turn into. Just do something new. We need it. And it needs to happen soon.
Yeah, I fully agree 100% on the Denver idea. I know this isn't a drag racing podcast, but as someone that loosely follows the NHRA, they were going to Denver for the Mile High Nationals for a long, long time, and now they don't anymore. There are a ton of race fans. Whether they're racing fans or just drag racing fans, doesn't matter. There are a ton of race fans in the Denver, Colorado area. Um, you even had Furniture Row Racing. They're based out of Denver. Could you imagine if they were still around today and then NASCAR was like, hey, we're going to build a track or we're going to find a track to go um, same with like the Pacific Northwest too. I know that the O'Reilly series the last couple of years went to Portland, but that whole like Pacific Northwest area racing is huge up there. Um, Guys like Casey Kane, Greg Biffle, they came from the Pacific Northwest to the Charlotte area. Un, you know, that's a whole market that the top series of NASCAR is not exploring that they really need to, because there's some great venues that are already there. But yeah, if the funding can be found to build a new track, that would be two great markets to do it in would be Denver and kind of the outer Seattle area.
Yeah, because it's not fair that race fans that live out there they have to spend all that money on flights just to go to a race, and that's really you're probably only going to one race a year if you're lucky. Meanwhile, I always bring this up, like Wes, if he has the time, I mean, I'd have to assume there's like five, six tracks just within reasonable driving distance that you could go to, which is much more cost effective than a fan having to fly across the country to go to a race. And then they'd have to, the plane, then the hotel, and then rental car to get to and from, to the track. And it's just kind of insane that they have to do all that just to see one race a year. Meanwhile, everyone in the Southeast is, catered to 7, 8 races a year if they want, where they could just kind of do a day trip to a race.
Yeah, that's so true. I was just thinking of it. I can get to Pocono, Dover, Richmond, Martinsville, Bristol, Charlotte, Rockingham, Darlington, Nashville, and I'm probably missing a couple. But I can get to all of those racetracks within like 7 hours. And then you look at the Midwest, you look at the central region of our United States, and they could probably get to none. It's not fair. It's just, I mean, it's not fair, but it's obviously where grassroots NASCAR started. But we're at the point with our culture and our base in NASCAR that we need to branch out, and it needs to start now. And hopefully they're making those steps, and hopefully we're not far from something like that happening. But obviously we haven't heard any rumblings of that.
All right, well, that was a good about 15-minute debate there on tracks and stuff. I mean, we can go on all day, but we gotta break. We gotta preview this Bristol race without making this a 2 hour long episode. So, just a quick little rundown of Bristol. This will be the 128th Cup race at the Bristol Motor Speedway. The first race was held on July 30th, 1961. And currently in the field on the paved oval at Bristol, we have 7 active winners. You have Kyle Busch, who's an 8-time winner. Denny Hamlin has 4 wins. Kyle Larson and Brad Keselowski both have 3 wins apiece. Joey Logano has 2 wins. And then Christopher Bell and Chris Buescher, both with 1 win apiece at Bristol. So definitely keep an eye for those guys when it comes down to Bristol. And with that, let's go into segments, and we'll start with Wesley's Wayback Moment.
Obviously, 2 Bristol races a year, and I wanted to keep it with the spring race. And there, I feel like for me personally, this is the obvious choice. I had to go to the 2001 spring race. Took place Sunday, March 25th, 2001. Won no other driver but Elliott Sadler. That was a huge win for the Wood brothers. It was their first win since 1993. I think Morgan Shepherd was the last guy to win. He won at Atlanta that year. And then there was a huge winless drought where he didn't win, I think, in his last 2 years. Michael Waltrip didn't win when he drove for them. And then Elliott Sadler was winless for them for a while up until this race. And it was pretty cool. He, I guess, missed pit road. He missed the call to go down pit road. And this was a weird time where uh, before, you had to go into pit road off turn two. It was just go on the back stretch and exit or go on the front stretch and exit. So they, I don't know how they scored it or how they were able to keep track of that, but definitely confusing having it set up that way where they didn't have to do a continuous pit road. But Sadler didn't listen or just didn't go down pit road, and sure enough, he stayed out with old tires and was able to make like the oldest tires of anybody probably in the whole field work. And that was against a hungry field that took tires with like 70 or 80 laps to go. It was impressive too because Sadler started that race in, let's see, 38th spot, and he crashed in practice, so he had to start in the back, or it might have been qualifying, but he had a backup car. So the fact he was able to take a backup car, I think at that time Brett Griffin was a rookie, like it was only his third or fourth race in NASCAR, and brand new spotter at one of the hardest racetracks to spot. They were able to go in a victory lane for the Wood brothers, the most iconic team in NASCAR history. Something cool with it. It was the first time and probably the last time this has happened, but I noticed the 21 and the 43 finished back to back. John Andretti, who I brought up on a recent episode, John Andretti finished second. So pretty cool to see the iconic, the 2 most famous numbers in NASCAR aside from the 3. Um, the 21 and the 43 finished first and second. 2 guys that obviously didn't go on to have much success after this. Sadler winning a couple times, Andretti kind of fading off from this point, but just seeing them have a highlight of a 1-2, John Andretti probably having the best car all day was pretty cool. And as a Jeff Gordon fan, I was pretty happy to see him come home in fourth. Although I remember being a kid screaming at the TV when Tony Stewart wrecked him on pit road. I was very upset and felt like I had a vendetta against Tony Stewart for quite a while after this moment. I feel like he was my least favorite driver in 2001 uh, after that. But yeah, Jeff was able to still beat him in the championship. I and was pretty happy with that by the end of the year. But yeah, for me, I mean, it was like a dream. Top 10, Elite Sadler wins. Yeah, Jeff Gordon fourth, Ward Burton fifth, Terry Labonte sixth, Bobby Hamilton eighth, Steve Park ninth, and then one of my all-time favorite drivers, his best finish at a non-super speedway in the NASCAR Winston Cup Series. Stacey Compton finished 11th, and that was with who would eventually become regarded as one of the best crew chiefs of all time, Jimmy Johnson's crew chief, Chad Canals. So I was super happy seeing Stacey run well in that race, and he did not want to be a. I remember watching it. Jerry Nadeau, that was a heartbreak. That poor guy wrecked 3 times in that race, and it was, I think DW saying 3 strikes and you're out. But yeah, just a cool race to go back and watch. There were 13 cautions, I think 11 for incident, 2 for debris, totaling 87 laps under caution. It was a different time back then. Some races had like over 100 laps with cautions. This only had 87, but yeah. And Denny Hamlin talked about it after Martinsville. You want to talk about caution laps being run? Well, it was just as bad 20 some years ago. So we'll hopefully see that improve. But yeah, Bristol is a treacherous racetrack, and for a lot of these guys, they were able to get to the finish line in 2001. But cool race.
Yeah, I mean, 13 cautions for 87 laps. I feel like today we'd have the stage cautions. You probably run about 85 laps under those 2 stage cautions. So yeah. Hopefully we get that fixed. But especially with you talk about Gordon and Tony Stewart. I had that vendetta with Matt Kenseth in '06. That was my first real like, all right, that's enough of this guy. That was like, as a Gordon fan, that was my first experience with like, all right, I don't like this guy now. Matt Kenseth, you're in trouble.
Yeah, well, Jeff thankfully got revenge at Chicago later that year.
Yeah.
Oh man,
This
yeah.
this was one of the few Bristol races that didn't really have any like retaliation or, you know, fists or any rivalry. I feel like 2002 was the big year where the night race. Oh my gosh, I feel like everybody hated each other in that one. And then the spring race was Dale Earnhardt Jr. versus Robbie Gordon. Um, I did want to mention too, this is some older news from a couple weeks ago, but just because I brought his name up, Stacey Compton was named the new general manager of Pulaski County Motorsports Park, which was the Motor Mile here in Virginia. So you want to talk about short tracks and grassroots, a track that needed to be saved. Sure enough, Stacey Compton, kind of a hidden story, is now the general manager of that racetrack. So that's right outside of Radford, Virginia, down near Blacksburg, Roanoke. Not too far from Martinsville and Bristol, but it's pretty cool that just another former NASCAR driver has been able to take over the reins of a racetrack, and you know, Dale Earnhardt Jr., all the work he's put in for short tracks to be able to save them, and NASCAR their efforts. It's cool seeing Stacey Compton, although he's not really the one that saved the racetrack, but just to get racing back on the track is pretty cool.
Absolutely. Oh, that was a good reminiscing there. Back to the '01 Food City 500. Honestly, I might have to give that whole race a watch here sometime soon because I'm sure it was a good one based off of just what you were talking about that whole race and everything about it. So very cool. Now we'll go into Steve's segment. Only 2 of us to stump this week, Steve. So we both got a 50-50 chance here of adding a point.
Yeah, 50-50 chance. Poor Sam, he'll still be at 0 points for trivia. Um, Speaking of him, we were going to do, I was telling you guys before we started recording, we were going to do some paint scheme trivia and just kind of blur the image out. But since he's not here, I've had to pivot and try to find something else. So part of this is Bristol Motor Speedway in its entirety. Day race and some night race stuff will be involved. So we're just going to do Bristol in general. Just kind of got some key moments from the history of Bristol Motor Speedway. So I will I'll leave it up to you guys. Do you want me to throw the question out and whoever answers it first, or do you want me to go person by person? What would you prefer?
I'd say run the person by person, and we'll kind of like a shootout style,
Okay.
like however many rounds until like how many questions you got.
That's a good question. I'm kind of scrolling back and forth, so I'm gonna say we'll find seven. We'll find seven questions.
All right, and then we'll see
So
where we're at there. If we have to come up with another one for tiebreaker or anything, we'll get there. We'll get there.
yeah. All right. Well, point standings, we're at Dom still leads at five. Wes has two of them. So Wes, we will start with you here. We're going back to 1990. In the final 10 laps, Ricky Rudd and Sterling Marlin got together, and that ultimately led between a photo finish between Mark Martin and this driver that went on to be declared the winner of the 1990 Bristol Spring Race. Do you know that driver?
Oh no. This is 1990.
1990. Yep.
I,
Ricky Rudd and Sterling Marlin wrecked, and Mark Martin and this driver ended up with a photo finish. Mark Martin finished second to this driver.
I'm gonna have to look at this video after we record just to see if I've seen it because for some reason I just don't remember this. But obviously I wasn't born. I wasn't even thought of. None of us were. But I I don't know. I'm gonna take a guess. Davey Allison.
Yes, you're right. Good guess.
I was between him and oh, who was I gonna say? Harry Gann.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I was like, it's gotta. I feel like it was Davey.
Harry Gant would be a good guess, but the race was ran in April, not in September. So,
Oh man.
but
Well, he wouldn't have won. He would have finished second.
yeah, that's right. But yes, you're right. So, uh, like I said, Rudd and Marlin wrecked, and then Mark Martin had a huge charge off of turn four, and had the start finish line been just a little bit further down, he would have won the race. But Davey Allison ended up getting the win there in 1990. So, point on the board for Wes there. Uh, Dom, we'll throw it over to you here. This driver in 2010 earned his 50th career win at 50th career victory in the Cup Series coming at Bristol in 2010.
I mean, just based off of the numbers game here, I'm gonna say Jimmy Johnson.
Jimmy Johnson on his way to his fifth championship in 2010. He did score I think that was his first Bristol win as well,
I think
2010, if
so.
memory serves me correct here. So,
It's the
point,
only win at Bristol.
he did win, I believe, in 17 before his Pocono
Okay.
crash. But he was not like Jimmy Johnson Martinsville version and Jimmy Johnson Bristol version were two totally different drivers
Mhm.
for sure. All right, Wes. Let's find this one here. Bristol, this is going to be one of the Bristol night race questions. Tony Stewart got wrecked, got out of the car, and threw his helmet at what driver?
Oh, wasn't that Matt Kenseth?
Matt Kenseth hit him square in the grill of his car.
That was a highlight.
That was the
That was
highlight.
pretty cool.
I
Tony's
was,
never threw anything harder in his life.
yeah, nor has he gotten the crowd more fired up, I felt like.
Oh
Man,
yeah.
he had the crowd going. Yeah, when Matt Kenseth got brought up, I was gonna bring up the 2006 thing between Gordon and and Matt Kenseth, but then that reminded me of 2012. Tony had some run-ins at Bristol. That was just kind of right up his alley. All right. We're going to throw a Bristol dirt question in here as well. Tyler Reddick and Chase Briscoe were battling towards the end of the race for the win, and neither one of them ended up winning as both of them spun on the last lap, giving this guy the victory in the Bristol
His
dirt race.
his final win at Joe Gibbs Racing, Kyle Busch.
Kyle Busch in the crunchy cookie car. Is that flavor any good? I know I'm going off topic here. Is that flavor any
Oh
good?
yes, anything crunchy cookie was always good for M&Ms. Crispy M&Ms, sugar cookie M&Ms, always they're always really good, as opposed to the freaking terrible pretzel ones.
All right, well, that could be another 10-minute rant we can get into later down the line. All right. What's our score? Are we at, is it
2-2,
2-2?
yep.
2-2? All right. I should be the one keeping score. I don't know why I was asking you guys, but appreciate you paying attention there. All right, Wes. In 1999, Dale Earnhardt wrecked this driver, and he also tried to wreck him in 1995, but ultimately finished second to which driver?
Well, as far as I know, we were there, and I don't remember exactly how it happened, but obviously, if you want to go back and watch from start to finish, probably the best race in NASCAR history, and it's not just because of the finish, it's because of the first 490 laps because of this race. But yeah, it was old Texas Terry. Sorry, Steve.
Texas Terry Labonte.
Fresh tires for old Terry did not hold up when Dale had to drive through them.
All right.
My dad cheered. He did
Did
not
he?
boo. He did not boo Dale.
He did not.
I want that to be clear. He was ecstatic.
Hey, you know who was right behind Dale Earnhardt when that happened?
I guess it was Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Spencer,
Jimmy Spencer.
and Sterling Marlin. Those were like all the guys up front that day. Sterling in that 40 car, the old school 40 car.
Jimmy Spencer in that 23 car.
Oh, it was sharp. You did not want to be a Dale Jarrett fan. He wrecked like 3 times. He wrecked at like lap 50.
Mm.
I've still got the VHS of it. We'll play it one day for everybody.
Yes. We're having a 1999
My
Bristol night
my half
race watch
sister,
party.
my half sister was here in this house in that room, and she recorded it on our old TV.
All right, Dom, I'm throwing it over to you. 1992, this driver won his 12th race at Bristol. What driver is it?
It's got to be DW, right?
DW himself. Yeah, 12th and final time at Bristol. Won the August 1992 race. Waltrip's 12 wins at Bristol are the most among all competitors in the top NASCAR Cup Series. So we're going to throw it over to Wes here. In the spring race of 1997, Jeff Gordon bumped who on the final lap? And this driver later called the incident a love tap. Who was that driver that Jeff bumped out of the way?
Jeff Gordon's favorite Wallace,
Which one?
Rusty.
Oh, I thought it was gonna
Rusty,
be. I
not
thought it was gonna be Mike.
Kenny. Maybe Mike.
Mike.
Steven,
Ah.
the younger.
Later did the same
Rusty.
thing in the 2002
2002.
Bristol.
That's what I was saying. The 2002 Bristol Night Race had Jimmy Johnson versus Robbie Gordon. It had Ward Burton versus Dale Jr. It had Kevin Harvick versus some. It had like every rivalry you could think of. It seemed like everybody was mad, but yeah, that was the yeah. Rusty didn't like Jeff Gordon beating him. That's why he wrecked him on purpose at Richmond.
Hey, some would say that triggered that 98 season.
Yeah, don't play with the beast. Poke the
Mhm.
bear. He woke
That's
him up.
right. That's right. All right, well, I'm kind of running out of questions here, so I'm kind of have to free ball some questions here. So these will be some kind of layups here. Um, Only driver to complete the weekend sweep, the triple header weekend
Kyle Busch
sweep, Kyle Busch.
did it twice.
Can you name the years that he did it?
2010 and 2017.
All right, very good. 2010 and 2017, Kyle Busch did it.
Not to
It's like
give Dom the win there because there's no way I could have told you that.
now we're tied now, so we gotta.
Tied.
It's like
Shoot.
a shootout now. It's like
Yeah,
whoever one makes it and one misses. Like
yeah,
If Wes doesn't get it right, then I have a chance to steal. Or if he gets it right, then I go wrong, then he wins.
yeah.
Might just
I'm
guess Mike Wallace.
literally just trying to guess things off the top of my head here.
Uh,
Um, all right, 2008 spring race. What team and what three drivers finished in the top three positions in that race? If you can name those.
oh yeah.
Team and top three driver.
Jesus.
It was a 1-2-3 for this team.
Jesus.
That's you just man.
I got a guess, but I mean, you go first.
What team and three drivers?
Yeah.
Three drivers drove for a team in 2008.
Yeah, three drivers to drive for a team in 2008. And they finished 1-2-3 in the Bristol Spring Race, 2008.
And the what? I'm blanking. Man, I don't know. Mike Wallace.
Mike Wallace, Kenny Wallace,
Mike Wallace,
Rusty
Kenny
Wallace.
Wallace, Rusty. I guess I'll guess. I don't know. It sounds like it'd be maybe Gibbs. I don't know. I'll say Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch, whoever else drove for Gibbs. Somebody. I couldn't tell you.
It was
I'll
not JJ
I could
Yeley, I'll
go.
tell you that.
I could go for the steal here.
You
Might
could
as well because I
you
don't.
could-
I think
I'm not that
it was
smart.
RCR. I think it was Jeff Burton, uh, Harvick, and Boyer.
we have a winner, folks. That is correct. I didn't want to give it away with the Gibbs things. They were running very good. I think Denny had a fuel pickup problem, had a fuel pump issue towards the end of the race, and Tony got wrecked by Kevin Harvick, I believe. And Jeff Burton went on to win his second to last race with Harvick and Boyer, giving RCR a 1-2-3 finish at the Bristol Spring Race in 2008.
There's a
I
reason
just-
I don't have a job and Dom does.
That's. I don't think that's got anything to do with the job I have.
Shoot, I would have. For all I know, I would have guessed Brett, Jeff, and Todd.
the, the only reason I remember Jeff Burton winning that race because he was so close to winning the year before
Hmm.
when he finished second to Kyle Busch. And so I knew he got the redemption and actually won in 08.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, I could have made the whole trivia segment just around Kyle Busch at Bristol. The dude was in the late 2000s, 2010s. It was just, you go to Bristol, Kyle Busch is in the race. Well, it's just a race for second at that point.
It's sad. It's sad you have to say was.
Yeah.
Yeah, not anymore. I mean, the way that
And he'll be lucky if he's not 3 laps down by the end of the second stage.
by the end of the first stage,
Yeah. I mean, he's so done. Like, we talked about, I think, before the season started as a prediction, like Suarez might not even make it to the end of the season in the car, or that was last year. We thought maybe Suarez would not make it to the end of the season in the 99. But I'm telling you, like, Kyle Busch is so checked out already. Like, if there's anyone that won't finish their season in their car right now, it's Kyle Busch.
yeah, it's crazy. I kind of briefly touched on it in the Martinsville recap too, that it's not just a Kyle Busch thing, like it's just RCR in general. It seems like Kyle Busch is slow, Austin Dillon's slow, whoever's in the 33, whether it's Love or Austin Hill, they're slow. Like there's just nothing to even go off of. And to make it this far into the season and organizationally not to have a single top 10 for any of the cars, is just a new level of low. And yeah, for it, it's not from a lack of talent of Kyle Busch by any means. He's one of the greatest in NASCAR history, but it just goes to show just RCR is really, really struggling, to put it lightly, right now. And I wouldn't be surprised. I think Bush would rather just take the rest of the year off and not go cup racing every week than to continue to have to go through what he's going through right now.
Yeah, you look at like everyone before the season was like, oh, easy, Kyle Busch in the seven. Suarez will only be a year. He'll suck and won't do good. But Suarez is arguably right with Hocevar in terms of like speed every week. McDowell's actually the odd man out right now on that team, and I think there have been like rumors that like this might be McDowell's last year, at least in the 71 car. So like maybe Kyle Busch could go there still, but right now, I mean, yeah, I don't know if Jim Pullman's, having a rough, learning curve, or yeah, like it's just the RCR deal because I mean, obviously Jim Pullman's got some talent. He won the championship last year in Xfinity, so it's not, the guy not knowing what he's doing. It's yeah, they've been talking the past few years of just re overhauling everything with new leadership. And then, Richard Childress last year after Dover saying, we got to get the cars for these guys. And clearly, it's only gotten worse since then, not better. And
They've got two of the best. I I feel like people give Austin Dillon a lot of crap, but he is one of the most intelligent drivers I think that we have in the NASCAR Cup Series, just with how like I feel like aware he is of what the future is for the company and for the sport. And he's with Kyle Busch, like they know what they need. They're just not getting it, and it shows up at the racetrack. So I don't think it's Jim Pullman. I don't think it's their driving abilities, because if you look back at obviously Kyle Busch for sure, even Austin Dillon though, early in his Cup career when you had higher horsepower and RCR was kind of fading downward but still had some speed, Austin was running top 5, top 10 and finishing top 15 on a weekly basis. And now they're not even finishing top 20. So they're smart. It's just a matter of what can they do to kind of fix the company and get it pointed towards the right direction.
yeah, and Kyle Busch is one of the smoothest drivers there is. And he's having to push the crap out of the car just to run 30th. And he's burning the tires off of it every run just to run 30th. And you can't have that happen. And you have the team almost kind of going after each other because you've got the crew chief and the spotter on channel 2 saying, you got to tell him to take care of his stuff. And he's like, well, no, I'm just up here. I mean, I'm not driving the car. And Kyle was saying, I have to drive everything it's got every lap just to run 30th. It's really bad. And it's kind of like, it's really sad just to see what happened. I mean, last year, I think Steve or one of you guys brought up, like, have we seen Kyle Busch's last win? And I laughed and I said, there's no way. Like, Kyle Busch is going to win at some point, but, like, with every race that goes by, it's actually becoming a legitimate, like, question. Like, have we seen Kyle Busch's last win in the Cup Series?
Yeah, we're approaching 3 years since his last win. And obviously, 2023, his first year with RCR, he got 3 wins. And then it's just been a decline every year since then. Like 2024, he was still pretty average, had some good runs. 2025 really started to drop off. Now this year it's dropped off further. It just seems like the more, the further in time that we go since his last win, just the more of a decline. And again, like we've talked about, like it's not Kyle Busch declining, because obviously he still goes out and he still runs really well in the truck races that he does. Doesn't really run O'Reilly anymore, but um, obviously we know that the talent is there with Kyle Busch. It's just something with the cars, whatever they're doing, because this is basically a spec car. Like all the parts come from the same place. Like you're not fabricating parts anymore and stuff like that. Like it's just a big Lego set that you got to put together. So yeah, I still stand by the statement. We've seen the last Kyle Busch win in the Cup Series, gateway of 2023.
Well, this is a good way to transition to underdog drivers. Maybe Kyle Busch should be one of the underdogs of the week this week. If I think he's entered that category where you almost consider him an underdog because there ain't no way we go to any track and you're picking Kyle Busch to win the race. It's just not feasible anymore. But looking at Bristol and looking at someone you're not looking at to kind of go out there and put a good performance out there or predict to win, someone you got to look at. I think. I mean, I don't know if you could say Ty Gibbs is a underdog anymore, so I'm not going to pick him. But I'm looking at, Carson Hocevar. He's got 4 top 20s there, and he's led laps there before. He's got an average finish of 14.8 in his in the 5 races there since February 2023. I think one of these races, Hocevar is gonna just kind of he's gonna win this year. I think I don't think there's a much doubt in my mind that he's gonna win. And Bristol, you do see some different drivers up there, like a Ty Gibbs or a Hocevar, and they like to play strategy. So if you get a late caution, they threw 2 tires on, or I think maybe stayed out in the night race towards the end to try to win. And his aggressive nature is what will help you pass, especially with these cars now at Bristol.
That's a good pick. I would agree with the Hocevar getting a win this year for sure. My underdog of the week, I said it on the Martinsville recap. I think that RFK is the most underrated team of 2026 so far. And that comes from the guy that his name is on the side of the building, Brad Keselowski. He nearly won the night race last year. Even going back to some of his other next gen finishes at Bristol, I mean, 13th, 8th, 3rd, um, 26th in the 2024 night race, but a 16th and a second last year. Pair that up with the 3 wins that he already has at Bristol. Um, we've seen him had a good run at Darlington, and Bristol just fits right in the wheelhouse of Brad Keselowski, and I'm buying into the stock of RFK in 2026. They're doing really, really well. Um, like I said, just in my mind, the most underrated team of 2026 so far. So my underdog of the week is going to be Brad Keselowski.
And I feel like I say for mine, I feel like I say it every week, and I've said it for years about this guy. It's Zane Smith. He has run so well this year, and he has been caught up in so many others, misfortune that it's collected him and taken him out of probably like 40 points. He'd be in the playoffs right now if it weren't for getting wrecked because he would have a top 10 at Coda. He got caught up in the Denny Hamlin incident, the Phoenix crash that took him out, I think, with John Hunter Nemechek. And he was running top 20 in that race. At Darlington, he was top 15 pretty much the whole day. I don't remember what happened, but faded late into Martinsville. The Bubba Wallace, Carson Hocevar stuff, that's swept him out of a top 15 day. And he was somewhere between 10th and 15th all day in that race, too. And he's just on a roll. His career race came at the Bristol night race last year, where he ran pretty much top 5, top 10 all day and finished third. I think at that point in time, he was having a little bit of a disagreement with Hocevar after I think it might have been, remember, Iowa, where they got into it, and it kind of carried into that Bristol race. And if it weren't for that, it could have been Zane Smith's first win. So it's a track he does pretty well at, and he's just had a lot of speed this year. I think he'll be able to show up and continue on the momentum, but actually get a finish this week.
All right. So there's our underdog drivers. Just to recap, I'm going with Carson Osavar, Steve going with Brad Keselowski, and Wes going with Zane Smith. And that takes us into our favorite segment, the fantasy draft. Some major developments in the standings after Martinsville. By virtue of scoring 119 points, Wes has taken over the standings lead the first time anyone's led the standings this season outside of Sam. Wes now holds a 19-point lead over Sam. And by virtue of a 119-point day for myself, I have kicked Steve back into the basement. He, I am 1 point ahead of Steve for third place, and we both currently now sit. I sit 102 points behind Wes, and Steve sits 103 points behind our points leader Wes. And this week, Steve gets to lead it off.
Yeah, I feel like you and I are going to spend most of the year being like the legacy teammates. Just separated by 1 point, just kind of down in the basement of the point standings, just kind of going here and there. Yeah, shout out Bubba Wallace getting 1 point at Martinsville. But that's fine. We're going to rebound because I hold the first overall pick this week. And guys, the last 5 weeks, Ty Gibbs' worst finish is sixth place. And we're going to Bristol, where in his career, 3 times he has led over 100 laps. The Bristol night race last year led 201 laps. Has 4 top 10 finishes in 6 career races at Bristol. Numbers do not lie. I've done a lot of dogging on Ty Gibbs, but I'm going to take him with the first overall pick.
Wow. Wow, interesting there. Well, I well now it takes it to Wes. I'm just gonna shut up.
I thought I went second last week, but maybe I
No,
didn't.
I think no, actually no, I think you're right. I think it's Sam that goes second, unless I'm
Yeah, I
wrong.
feel like I'm last.
Yeah, I think Wes is
Or
last.
did I go third last week? I think I went third last week,
Yeah,
so I should be last.
yeah. So it actually
I'll go second.
is it actually is Sam's pick. He gave us his
Actually,
whole
no. Yeah, I want to be last.
he
Give me
gave his
last.
whole order here, and he is gonna go with Denny Hamlin, the Joe Gibbs teammate. So then that sends it over to me, and I am gonna roll with between two guys here, but dang, I know I'm not gonna be able to get both of the guys I want because I know Wes will just gonna take him with one of his two picks. So this guy's got to turn it around at some point, finish a race here, and maybe some momentum for the Hendrick guys after winning at Martinsville. So I will go with Kyle Larson.
And I'll take the guy you didn't pick, Christopher Bell.
Yep.
And I'm between two guys here. And I'll say who I'm between. I'm between Ryan Blaney and Chase Briscoe.
Oh,
Um,
the two guys I can't pick.
yeah, it's they're both man. I feel like it's going to be a coin flip. Um, but I'll take the guy that's been more consistent recently, and that's Ryan Blaney.
Man, I was really hoping that you were going to go with Briscoe there because I was going to scoop up Blaney.
I do think Briscoe's showing up this week. I think he's going to be top five. So if nobody picks him, I'm taking
You,
him.
you know who else is gonna be top five? Brad Keselowski. Give me bad Brad. So Sam, let's see what he can pick here off his board in order. Uh, Busher. He's going Chris Busher. Or changed up, check that. Briscoe. He's going Briscoe. He has Briscoe above Busher.
All right. Well, that's going to leave me with my final two picks. And yeah, he went with Briscoe. I can't do Busher. He took Brad. So that's going to leave me with, oh, let's go. I'll go Chase Elliott. See if he can go back to back and leave me with my final pick here. I will go with, oh, let's do Ryan Preece.
All right, so now Sam's going to take Busher. And then I'm going to roll with, man, let's go with, I'll go Hocevar.
That'll take it to me. I like a few guys here. Hmm. Oh, in between two guys. Yeah. I'm gonna, I was seeing if I picked him. I picked him at Atlanta. I'll stick with Zane Smith. I was between him and Byron, but I like Zane Smith.
How about that? No Reddick, no Byron pick this week. Like it, like it, like it. So, to recap, your points leader, Wes, is going with Christopher Bell, Ryan Blaney, and Zane Smith. Sam, in second place, is rolling with Denny Hamlin, Chase Briscoe, and Chris Busher. Myself in third, I'm going with Kyle Larson, Brad Keselowski, and Carson Hocevar. And Steve is rolling with Ty Gibbs, Chase Elliott, and Ryan Preece. We'll see how those fare out. Final thoughts going into Bristol. What type of race are we going to see? Are we going to see the major tire fall off, or really just kind of the tire drop off a cliff race? Or are we going to see your typical not much fall off and tough to pass type of race? That's really, with the next gen car, it feels like it's been one or the other. It's been a tough to pass race where it's frustrating to watch, or it's been that, like, you gotta say max save the tires or you're gonna be in serious trouble. So it'll be interesting to see which type of race we get, because it's been one extreme to the other. Either the tires are hard as a rock and don't fall off at all, or they fall off a cliff. So we'll see. That'll be what intrigues me going into this race.
So they're gonna have higher horsepower, but what's the tire compound? Do we know?
I think it's probably the same. I'd have to assume as last year, but
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it'll depend on the temperature of the race. Apparently, the temperature is really the big factor of, like, the cooler it is, the more likely it is to not lay rubber down and chew right through the tires.
Yeah. It's I and with it being the day race, it makes think that it's going to be similar to the spring. I feel like even though if the tires don't fall off like we expect them to, or it did in the fall, that the higher horsepower will allow for a little bit more diversification when it comes to the passing. So, and just acceleration on the corner, off the corner. So that of itself should lead to a little bit more tire wear than what the spring race was last year. So I feel like that there should be some more passing, some more comers and goers. Although I don't know, it's not going to be the same as night race. So should be good. I yeah, as long as the tires wear enough, we're gonna have a good Bristol race.
Now, what I'll be looking forward to as well as Joe Gibbs Racing. They've been the ones to really show up at Bristol the last few years. Denny kind of touched on Ty Gibbs and his success there. Christopher Bell, a few wins there, and Chase Briscoe trying to rebound and trying to get his season back on track there. So just seeing if it's going to be one standout Joe Gibbs driver or if all four of them are going to be running really well. Um, Aside from that, Dom, I hope you guys have an awesome trip, and we'll have the fort held down here while you guys are off to Tennessee. So excited to hear all about it when we do our Bristol recap episode.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what kind of content you guys are able to push out next week, and if it's a podcast, if it's a YouTube video, or I mean, we're we're pushing out content every daily on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. So if you aren't following there, make sure you are. We just hit over 10,000 followers on Facebook. So we're so grateful for every one of you that are following over there and everyone that's following on any platform and interacting with us. I mean, we appreciate it all and appreciate all the interactions. We love just kind of shooting the shit. I mean, with NASCAR, I mean, that's all that's what we all love the most. And it's love talking it and just love, I mean, that's 90% of this brain is NASCAR. So I gotta I gotta project it somewhere. So I love doing it with the fans.
Absolutely. I mean, that's big reason why love doing this is because my wife does not care for NASCAR as much as I do, so she does not want me to talk her ear off about NASCAR and what's going on, entire compounds and higher horsepower and stuff like that. So this is a great outlet to do it and to talk with a whole bunch of other people that love NASCAR as much as we do. It's This is awesome. I wish I didn't need sleep because I would do it 24/7 if I
hmm
could.
Yeah, so we've got a great group here. We're gonna keep on going on, and I'm excited for where we're going, and I'm happy if you've listened this far for being a true fan. And yeah, more ahead. And so yeah, we'll see what content comes out. We'll see what Steve's got up his sleeve for when I'm on vacation, and then come that Bristol recap. I mean, we're full force ahead. Back to previews and recaps. I mean, shout out Steve for getting a Martinsville recap out there by himself. He did a hell of a job there talking for
Thanks.
a little over 20 minutes.
Yeah, I like I said at the end of that episode, it was definitely an uncomfortable feeling because I'm used to, the three of us or four of us talking and chit-chatting back and forth and bantering each other. And when I did that, it was just to myself. So just sitting there and talking for, I think it ended up being like, yeah, a little over 20 minutes. Thankfully, there was not a whole lot that happened at Martinsville. So 20 minutes was about a stretch, about as far as I could stretch the Martinsville race. I do one thing after, that I realized after the fact is I did not touch on the O'Reilly series. I did want to give a shout out to Lee Pulliam, did an awesome job getting top five run in the junior motorsports 9 car. People like that, like Lee, that has done so much for the short track community and local grassroots racing. Um, to see him get an opportunity for a premier series like the NASCAR O'Reilly series is just awesome. I hope that that opens up the door not only for more opportunities for Lee himself, but for other racers like him. It was just a great showing. So I realized after the fact, I was like, damn, I did not cover anything outside of the Cup Series, but I did want to make sure that he gets his flowers for sure.
Absolutely. So with that, make sure you're subscribed everywhere, following us everywhere, anywhere on social media. Just search for and Field Podcast. You'll find us, I promise. So for Wes, Steve, I'm Dom, and we'll talk to you again after Bristol.